just like that. Can you hear the music?
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is me, Janet Sibanda from Manangum Tanami today, having a very, very important discussion. Very important for me anyway. I think it's a public secret that I have been practicing some bad parenting. Here we are in another season of a lockdown. COVID-19 has rampaged all over again, and schools are closed. Kids are back in school. Kids are not in school. Kids are at home, and they're learning online. And the thing is, we are finding ourselves in a position where we have to take on the teacher role. We're supporting the teachers as they're doing their online learning. In some instances, they're not even learning. So I have been bad. I have not been attending to my children when they're online because I just can't do it. I don't even know how. And I've asked Mr. Elton Gomori, who's a child psychologist and an educationist. If you noted last year, my child named him her favorite teacher. So Mr. Gomori, welcome to the show.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me.
We are so happy to have you here. So now we're going to get into some questions. What is this online thing? I need the questions. What is this online thing? Help me figure out how the ideal way that parents can prepare mentally for homeschooling. I know one thing, my mind has never been in it completely. So please tell me what mindset I need to be in to be able to successfully homeschool my children.
All right. Online learning is the new normal. It's definitely the new normal considering the coming in of the COVID-19 pandemic and its resurgence. So I think there is a lot to be done in terms of reconditioning the mindsets of parents and learners as well, so that online teaching becomes very fruitful and productive. But first and foremost, I think we need a paradigm shift in the manner in which we take online teaching. I'm just going to give you a very simple example. I was reading a Christian magazine of late, and in that magazine, a story is it that a boy went to his pastor and said, "Pastor, when I grow up, I want to buy you a very nice car." And then the pastor said, "Wow, that's good. But why do you want to do that?" Then the young boy said, "Because my mom said you are the poorest pastor she has ever had." So basically, kids take it after us. Our attitude and our approach towards online teaching determines the participation of our children. So we need a paradigm shift. We need to embrace the new normal, and we need to reinforce it into our children, and we need to orient our children so much such that they realize that this is what we are going to be doing going forward, and it's very important, and it's just as important as traditional means of teaching. So we need that paradigm shift where and when we speak positively, we become good ambassadors of online teaching ourselves. Because if we just run some reckless sentiments pertaining to online teaching, then it's going to impact negatively on our kids simply because they take it after us. So not only that, we also have other issues. Remember, a traditional child psychologist, Albert Banchura, once said, learners learn through modeling, observation, and imitation. So what we say pertaining to online teaching is very important. What we say ourselves pertaining to online teaching is very important simply because we are models. We are their models as parents. So we need to be evangelists of this thing. We definitely need to be evangelists of this thing. We need to evangelize the beauty and glory of online teaching simply because that's the way to go.
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, lovely. All right. So that makes a whole lot of sense. That being said, now, how then can parents become team players with the schools, with the teachers, so that the homeschooling process can be done efficiently?
All right. I think during the advent of online teaching, parents should now cease to become spectators in the learning process of their children. I think the issue revolves greatly around the issue of collaboration. I think in times past, we used to have teacher-parent conferences probably once or twice a term, but with the current situation where learning is done online, I think there is need for a very close engagement, not only close, but frequent engagement as well. So there's need for close and frequent engagement with the teachers so that a track can be made on the progress being made in online teaching. Parents should actively engage teachers. So there's a great need. It is of uttermost and paramount importance for parents to become team players with teachers so that educational objectives can be realized.
Lovely. Now, we have been doing this. We started last year and we are carrying on this year. Please tell us from your experience, what have been the greatest mistakes that parents have been making? Myself included.
Very, very, very important question. I think that's the most significant question probably you're going to ask me this evening. I think the greatest mistake that parents have been taking with regards to online learning is simply this, that parents have been participating in cheating, and parents have been inculcating in learners a very bad habit of teaching. You know it very well. I once taught your daughter. You know it very well that I'm a classroom practitioner myself. What I've noted, and what some of my colleagues, in fact, not some of my colleagues, but all of my colleagues have also noted, is simply that there are great discrepancies between learners' participation on online platforms and their participation when they came back to the classrooms. So at some point we had a lockdown, and the children were not coming to school. They were learning online, and they were doing very well. They were excelling. Then the schools were open. They went back to the classroom, and their performance, most of them performed way below they did during online teaching. Not because the questions were easy, not because they were now given high order questions than the ones they were given during online teaching, but primarily because the house helps were doing the work for them, the mom were doing the work for them, the dad, the brothers, the siblings. So I think the greatest challenge to online teaching from a point of view of education is simply that we are having a misconception, which does not only relate to online teaching, Janet. Sorry to digress, but it refers to our approach to education in general.
Okay.
Most parents think education revolves around attainment of good academic grades. Yet, in the contemporary society, education is revolving around 5 pillars. That is creativity, communication, collaboration, character, and others. So what we are saying is, learners do not just learn online for the sake of getting a high grade, for the sake of getting a lot of marks. No, education is aimed at developing character. It is aimed at developing creativity. It is aimed at developing teamwork, that is collaboration. So there's a misconception that parents want their child to be top in the class in terms of academic grades, but that is not the purpose and the great objective. That is not the prime goal of education in the 21st century. Many people are living virtually healthy and productive lives without having good grades. So we want to inculcate in our learners collaboration. We want to inculcate in our learners character. We want to inculcate in our learners good communication skills and so forth. So we don't have to pressure our kids to attain good grades. But please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying good grades are not good. They are good, and I'm a parent as well. I would love my daughter Michaela to have good grades, of course, but it's not the ultimate. It's just an immediate. Education should socialize children to become competent world citizens and to excel in various spectrums of life. Not all children are born to be organic intellectuals or scholars. So education should be able to produce experts. It should be able to produce champions in various spectrums of life, apart from just just academic grades. So that pressure from parents for kids to attain academic grades is leading to cheating. Some parents even facilitate the cheating themselves by doing the homework for their children instead of just taking a facilitative role, instead of just taking probably an assistive role or something like a role to motivate their children to do their work. And we are seeing a great challenge of dependence, a dependence syndrome. The learners are depending on their siblings, they are depending on their parents for doing their work, and that is not good enough. This thing was actually meant to be very good in the sense that it was introducing our children to research skills, and it was actually introducing them to how they can actually come up with sound academic research. But nonetheless, sometimes the parents are doing the research themselves, and they are coming back into research as they are home and not and working from home. So they are taking the role of their children. So I want to implore to all parents who are watching us this evening that please just take a facilitative role. Do not facilitate cheating. Do not do the work for the children. Let them do it for themselves. And also, there is a great need of encouragement. Just encourage independence in learning. And how do you do that? You do that by probably monitoring and supervising instead of doing it yourself. Can you hear me?
My network is been. Okay. I hope you can hear me still.
Yes, I can now hear you. Yeah.
I can hear.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes,
lovely.
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So, bringing in all that you have mentioned right now, I think the thing is at the end of the day, you know, when I'm talking to my kids, right, I always say, "Ndakabhadhara school fees. I paid school fees. So I'm invested in this. There's a financial benefit or gain I'm expecting to get, meaning that my expectations revolve around that. You know, I need to see results on that basis. So yes, you've taken me to school. I understand that there are these 5 pillars: communication, so now I need to be able to understand, okay, how can we manage our expectations? You know, I don't want to find myself being the Godzilla mom, you know, going crazy because we are less patient than you are. We haven't been taught how to be as patient as teachers. So please help me understand, how do we manage our expectations?
To manage your expectations, I think we definitely have to be holistic in nature. We need to be very holistic in nature. We need to take education as a sum total of the socialization of the children. So the first thing in management of your expectations is simply that I think there is need for the management process to be done on a before and after basis. We need to look at participation. Participation and active involvement should be our prime goal. What matters is simply that the children are participating, and what matters is simply that the children are doing what they are expected to do by the teachers. And also, there is need for consultation with the teachers, and there is need for a comparative analysis of the children's performance instead of just expecting them to come up with very superlative grades, which may not be realistic. So I think, like I've alluded to earlier on, there is need for a paradigm shift. We need to be holistic. We need to be very considerate, and we need to be quite professional. This situation has turned parents into some educationists of some sort. So they need to manage their expectations, and they need to be, there is a great need for them to be holistic. Like I have said, what matters is improvement as opposed to outcomes. What matters is the process. Parents should be very wary of the educational processes as opposed to being very concerned only with educational outcomes. So it's the process that matters. As parents and as teachers, we should join forces in enhancing the educational processes. We should join forces in making sure that the process improves so that at the end of the day, the results also improve. But if you just look at the results without going back to the process, so we need to go back to the drawing board to say, this is where we are and this is where we want to go. But where are we in terms of where we are and where we want to go? We need to be very realistic. We shouldn't put lipstick on a frog, hoping that by so doing it will win the Miss World Beauty contest. So we need to be very realistic with our children to say this is the level of our children's ability in these subjects, and this is where we want to go. And we need some kind of goal settings with the teachers, realistic goal setting, whereby we set goals with the teachers and we walk the talk. We pursue what we need to pursue, and we do what has to be done. So it's a matter of putting our hands on the deck. It's a matter of participating. It's a matter of helping each other. It's a matter of joining forces and working as a team with the teachers. I think goal setting is very important. Teachers and the parents should set a goal, and they should see those goals through realistically. Instead of just having a utopia whereby we just want our kids to have 90%, 98% without putting in the work. Rome wasn't built in a day. I think the parents should manage their acceleration in terms of their desire in the performance of their children. So let's manage our acceleration. Speed, and more speed spells danger. Speed, and more speed is a great prediction for a predicament instead of real progress. So we need to sit down, we need to be very realistic, and we need to walk we need to walk the talk in a manner that is commensurate with the learner's understanding and the learner's individual needs and differences. So that is, I think that is very key. We need to look into that.
Lovely. So that is very, very interesting. I hope you can still hear me. Yeah, I hope you.
Sorry? Pardon?
Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Seems my network today is not doing me good.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. You can proceed.
Oh gosh.
You can now proceed.
I don't think so.
You can proceed.
I think sometimes it's the laptop because I'm there. You go. Let's switch. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You can proceed.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, ma'am. You can proceed.
Can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear you. You can proceed.
Lovely. We've got really bad network today. I don't know what's going on, but I hope we can see this interview through. So now I wanted to ask, you having given us that, um, can you hear me? Okay,
I'm sorry, I can't.
Okay, can you, am I back?
Yes, you're back now.
Yes, I was saying, what minimum effort can I put as a parent in order to achieve optimal results?
I think the minimum effort that we can put is to check on the children's work, to check whether the children did their work. Not only that, to also check whether the children attended their lessons, and also to consult with the teacher to see if the kids are participating during the lessons. So I think the issue revolves pretty much around engagement between the parents and the teachers. As a parent, you should consult with the teacher on whether your child is participating during the lesson, and also there is need for you to check on submission of the work as well as the quality of the work. We need to inculcate in our children the values of diligence and vigilance and excellence. So, as a parent, it is our responsibility, together with teachers, to foster for excellence in our children. And how do we do that? We emphasize on quality, and we emphasize and overemphasize the need for excellence in the manner in which they engage themselves and they do their work. And we also have to probably help in terms of time management, to say, look, my child, you need to come up with a timetable. From this time to this time, you're attending the online lessons. From this time to this time, you're doing your assignments. After that, you can now use your toys. After that, you can now watch movies. After that, you can now go to Netflix. After that, you can now watch cartoons. So there's need for parents to assist in terms of time management, simply because we are having this discussion within the confines and context of primary and secondary education mostly. So there's really a need for parents to assist in terms of time management, and to try and foster for implementation of the measures that they take in terms of effective time management of the learners, simply because time lost can never be regained. So we need to try to teach, we need to try and teach our children to manage their time wisely and to manage their time effectively, so that the educational outcomes and goals that we set will be realized. That is very key. That is very key. And I think we need to be also very, 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 very serious. One of the greatest challenges that we are having as parents of the 21st century is that we are sometimes treating our children as our friends. We love our children. I love my child. I'm blessed with a daughter. I love my child. But we shouldn't treat them as our friends, because they are not our friends. So at one point or the other, we need to be very firm with the need for excellence in their work. At one point or the other, we need to be very firm with having them doing their work in a manner that is required. We need to foster for diligence, like I have said, and we need to be very firm with online teaching. We need to be very firm. In times past, it was actually the responsibility of the teacher to make sure that the work is being done nicely in the classrooms or within the confines of the four corners of the school premises. But now it's being done at home, and after we are done with our work, we need to look at our children's work. We need to foster excellence, and we need to be quite firm. We need to love them with a firm hand, so that what is to be done will be done. And at the end of it all, they will thank us later. So we need to be very serious. I think with that on that regard, we need to be very serious, and we need to treat our children not as our friends with regards to their schoolwork. And I think that is very key, and that has been a missing link in the 21st century. We are being too friendly to the extent that we are tolerating anything in terms of how the work is being done. Not only that, I think also there is need for some kind of supervision, because what we are seeing. I think there's also need for supervision, because what we are seeing now is simply that, unlike in times past, children are now having unlimited access to the internet, and we need to monitor the use of those internet platforms, because sometimes we may assume that can you hear me?
You? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right. Yeah, I think you're now back.
Okay. Oh gosh,
All right.
this is our network. All right. So,
So
thank you. Yes, you're saying?
Okay, so I was saying before we had that network glitch, I was saying one of the problems, one of the greatest challenges that is affecting educational outcomes in the 21st century is simply this, that with modernity, our fashion of parenting is drifting towards the Western way. We are now socializing our children the Western way, in which we are treating our children as if they are friends. But if we are to achieve great educational objectives, if we are to achieve educational goals and objectives to a greater extent, then there is definitely need for us as parents to be more firm with the manner in which we want our children to commit themselves to their schoolwork. We need to be firm. We need to take a no-nonsense approach, so that what is to be done online is done, so that the lessons are attended to, so that the work is being done, so that at the end of it all, they will definitely thank us later. So we need to be very firm. We need to interact and treat our children with a firm hand with regards to how we want we want them committed to their schoolwork, because at the end of the day, we are investing a lot of money in this, and we are investing that money not just for the sake of it, but we are investing that money so that our children will have a brighter future. So we need to see it through, even in the manner in which we set our expectations and we see them through, and we supervise and we monitor, and we become very firm with regards to what we want done being done. So basically, that one is very important. Not only that, we are seeing that children these days are now having unlimited access to the internet, and I think as parents we need to take a very critical supervisory role in terms of the sites that our children are exposing themselves to or are being exposed to. And I think there is need for especially at elementary level, even at secondary level, I think there is need for parents to make sure that whenever children are doing their researches, they are not using the regular Google search engine, but they resort to Kidu, simply because the regular Google search engine may expose our children to very bad very bad material, like explicit stuff, and it may lead to desensitization, and it may lead to something bad to our children. So we don't have to have them use the regular Google search engine, but they should resort to Kidu, which is very relevant to children. So we need to make sure that we foster for that to happen. How do you do that? We need to supervise using the web history, which sites are our children visiting, so that at the end of it all, we don't desensitize our children. At the end of it all, our children are not exposed to bad material like pornographic stuff, which may just pop up on the internet if the regular Google search engine is being used.
That makes a lot of sense. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Hello, yes, I can hear you.
There?
Yes, I'm there. I can hear you.
Hi. Okay, lovely. I have to keep checking. I have to keep checking because my network is so bad. So I will definitely come. Yeah, I will definitely come. I will come through it. Yeah. I would definitely experience on my part in relation to that. I mean, for one thing, if you're not monitoring these kids, they start to open up different apps and things like that. So while they technically are in class, like you look in and you see that they're in class, you'll find that no, they might be on the class app, but they're doing other things. Because my child ended up drawing and painting and whatever, while meanwhile she was supposed to be in class, and they get assignments that they're supposed to do and they're supposed to follow through on those and submit them. So definitely monitoring is something that is very crucial and very important. Now, one very where I lacked the most, I mean, with the older one it was easy because you could literally leave her on autopilot, but where I lacked the most was with the small one. They have all this material, a lot of material. Well, they had it then. Now it's not so bad. How do you manage the small people? Because with the small people, there's a lot of work involved. Help me, please. I need
All right.
to be rescued on this one.
All right.
How do you manage
When
the
it
small
comes to
ones?
the small people,
Oh, and by the way, to our listeners, please feel free to put your comments and questions in the chat box. Thank you so much for coming through. So we can share and this particular interview. How do we manage this?
all right. Thank you very much. So you were saying, how can we best assist the little ones? And you mentioned an issue around the learning materials that is to be used. And I think the first thing that we need to realize as parents is simply that when we, the teachers, ask for you to purchase those materials, we are not being neggy. We are not just negging you, but the little ones, they learn through observation. They also learn through manipulating objects. So those materials are simply the way to go. They really have to learn using those materials. But I think the first role that a parent is to take is to make sure that first thing, those materials are readily available. Not only that, like I have said before, online learning is meant to be a blessing to our children and not a drawback. What we need to do is to teach our children to be very orderly. Especially with regards to the learning materials, we need to teach them to be orderly. We need to teach them to order their workspaces, and we also need to teach them to be responsible, because as you can see, the little ones are the more complex to deal with. And I think what I would encourage parents to do is not to interfere a lot with the little ones, simply because they are very delicate. They need professionals. So I implore to parents to not just interject or not just involve themselves in the education of the little ones without close consultation with the teachers, simply because they are very delicate. They are very particular in terms of the teaching and the learning methodologies that they have to engage in, so that the educational goals and objectives would be attained. So leave it to professionals. And if you are to do something, do it in liaison with professionals. And sometimes the significant other in education may not necessarily be the teacher. You can actually Google around something and be informed on the methodology before you try to chip in and assist the little ones. So I think the little ones has to be constantly referred to their teacher. There has to be constantly checked with, in liaison with their teachers' teaching methodology and approaches, so that at the end of it all, there won't be a mishap between the teacher's methodology and the parents' interventions, so that at the end of the day, the goals are attained. At the end of the day, what is to be done should be done, and the educational objectives should be attained.
Lovely, lovely. So please, viewers, put in your comments for whatever it is you want to ask as well, so we can incorporate it, because are coming to an end. And if I am to go back a little bit, I also want to make a comment on what you mentioned earlier. You can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you
Kindly
hear
proceed.
me?
Yes, I can hear you, ma'am. Kindly proceed.
Hello?
Hello. Yes, you might as well proceed. I can hear you.
Gosh.
I can hear you. You may proceed.
Can you hear me, Mr. Gomori?
Yes, yes, I can.
Use it. All right, lovely. I wanted to say, yes, okay. I wanted to say, please, our viewers, please, can you put in your questions and then we'll incorporate them? You may send in your questions. So, speaking of looking at the history on devices is very important. I recall once upon a time that my daughter and I had a session or a back and forth about her not doing her work because she was busy on sites and things like that, because I then went on to link all of my accounts on the devices that she was using. So she wasn't using her own personal accounts, she was using my accounts. So because she was using my accounts, I was able to see everything that she was doing, and I would make an effort to go through every single day to see exactly what it was. And then I found that about user for her leave. I have an email requesting for permission. So I know exactly what she's doing, when she's doing it, how she's doing it, and where she's doing it. So parents, I encourage you. There's also a Google app, right, Mr. Gomori? What's it called? It's Google Safety or Family Safety or something like that.
Yes, it's Google Safety, and I recommend the use of Kido for children instead of the regular Google search engine. So download the Kidu version. It's found on Google Play
Mhm.
Store. Simply download the Kidu version so that the kids would be able to research and to search for information on the internet using children appropriate search engine that doesn't provide stuff that are not good and inappropriate for children.
Okay, lovely. Another question I would then want to ask, which is a very random question on my part, does it then make sense for parents to seek out extra lessons while kids are doing online learning? You,
It depends.
you know
It
how
depends.
you know how parents just love to get extra lessons for their children. Does it make sense to put the two together?
It does, but I think they have to look into the credentials of the person that they hire, simply because some parents I've seen, I actually know someone who is very impatient with his children, so much so that he cannot assist them academically. He may actually end up probably abusing them. So I think seeking for a professional to chip in and help is very ideal, but a lot has to be done in terms of the credential of the person being hired, simply because sometimes it may end up uh, moving from bad to worse. So if that has to be done, then I think it's okay for a parent to hire a professional to assist the child in terms of their schoolwork. But the person has to be very professional, and the person has to be very relevant to the level of learning of the child. Not only that, there is also need, if that person is not the teacher of the child, there is also need for close consultation so that there won't be some kind of dichotomy between some kind of a clash between the teachers online and the teachers who are being hired to assist. But I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's wise to have it done by a professional than for a parent to chip in and spoil. But if the parent can assist, then that's okay. If the parent can't assist due to time constraints, if the parent can't assist due to skills constraints, if the parent can't assist probably due to chamber issues, then it's okay to have a professional assist. But I think the professional also needs to be involved is the ideal teacher, the online teacher, so that there's need for harmony in terms of teaching methodologies being used by whoever is assisting in tandem with the teacher online, so that at the end of it all, they have to sail through in the same wavelength.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. So when necessary, do what needs to be done. Let me just read some comments from some of our participants.
Okay, that's great.
Can you take it off solo?
I can see my
we have Mrs. Juliet Ndlovu. She's commented, parents have turned educators, but some of totally lazy, always hounding.
Yes, I think that's a very good contribution.
Kunzi zvipakate anzi kunzi zvipakate handi kunzi dziridze.
Yes, kunzi
And
dzipakati.
then thank you, Tapiwa Nduk. Wonderful presentation. Thank you. Now it's just quiet. Sorry, we're trying to work as best as we can with the sound. And then there's for hosting this parental educating topic. And then Julian Love again said, thank you. Carry on.
All right, thank you very much. I think there is a very important contributions that was uttered by one of our viewers there, Miss Juliet Vlovu. I think it's very key in the sense that it's giving an imprint to our children about how they should deal with adults, in particular their teachers. So whenever you are trying to assist or whenever you observe a lesson being done by a teacher online in the presence of your child, please do not negatively criticize the teacher simply because you are actually turning off the child from learning. The teacher might have made a mistake, or the teacher might not be good according to your standards, but please do not say anything negative to the teacher in the presence of the child, simply because they will take it to school and it will impact negatively on their performance and on their discipline. So parents need to realize that they are not educationists. If they are not educationists, a parent may be an engineer, a parent may be a pilot, a parent may be an accountant, a parent may be an actuarial scientist, and I cannot just get into actuarial science and try to assist. I cannot just get into mechanical engineering and declare myself an expert. So parents should know that education may not be their area of expertise, and they should leave it to teachers, and they should respect teachers, and they should respect the role teachers are taking in online teaching. Parents, please, you are not experts in education, you are experts in your own fields of endeavors. And when it comes to educational processes, you need to consult with the teacher, and you need to respect their expertise, their approaches, their methodologies, and their tact. It's very important.
That being said, it's the perfect parting shot. I love that. You know, it also ties in with this comment that I want to read here, which says, thank you, Mr. Gomori, for highlighting the issue of research. Parents should stop helicopter parenting, let children be themselves and assist where needed. And I agree, parents should stay in their lane. You know, I am one of those. I was talking to my son's teacher and I said, look, I'm good at life skills, raising a human being, right? Academics, they're for you, not for me. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
so online education, definitely, we need to be able to figure it out. So thank you so much, Mr. Gomori, for taking the time to have this conversation with me. Thank you to all those who have been there with us from the beginning and even up until now. Thank you so much. We hope to have more conversations with you, and take care. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, lovely. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
That's what